Hi there, legal writers. Welcome to this Legal Grammar Redux video series with me, Jill Barton from the University of Miami School of Law. In this video series, I am covering 12 grammar topics, which are also covered in more depth in chapters 19 through 21 in the handbook for the new legal writer. And those topics are listed here, including 8 grammar basics and 4 more advanced principles. So let's talk about grammar basic number 5 today, and that is modifiers. So with modifiers, we will cover 3 rules. The first is that we want to avoid the unclear placement of modifiers. This rule really focuses on words like only, primarily, predominantly, mainly, words that if they are moved in a sentence would change the meaning of the sentence. So let's take a look at the sentence. It reads, "Indeed, the dissent finds it odd that our reading would permit hardship relief only to small refineries in existence in 2008. We can clearly see from this sentence that the relief would only go to small refineries. But imagine if we moved that word only around in the sentence and we said something like, the dissent only finds it odd. That would mean that the dissent only finds this one thing odd about the majority opinion. We could write only our reading. That would mean that only our reading and no one else's reading would find this conclusion. We could also write something like would permit only hardship relief, meaning that this is not going to permit any other kinds of relief. So words like only, primarily, predominantly, mainly have to be placed exactly next to the word or words that they're modifying so that the meaning we intend in a sentence is absolutely clear. The second rule is very similar. Avoid misplaced modifiers. For this rule, as we discuss it, we'll talk more about modifying phrases and not just those single words like only and mainly. Let's take a look at this sentence. This first example is written by Justice Kagan, and please don't tell her, but in the second example, I have reworked her sentence to make it grammatically incorrect. So in this sentence, she is clearly modifying the word amnesia and describing that this amnesia produces a black hole where that recollection should be. In this incorrect example, I have switched that up and created a grammatical error by putting that modifying clause next to the word genuine. Now, if you were reading this, it might still make sense to you, you might understand what the writer is intending, but it is grammatically incorrect. And that modifying phrase following genuine is incorrectly placed because it describes the amnesia and it needs to be placed exactly next to that word. Another example that might be even more clear to you as the new legal writer is that when we are describing a case, we need to make sure our reader knows which case we are describing. So imagine if I changed the clause in a sentence to be modifying the wrong case. This sentence from a Supreme Court opinion has a modifying clause that describes the Georgia v. Chattanooga case. In the incorrect example, I moved that phrase to describe the Hall case, which of course is incorrect, and your reader wouldn't know that you have a grammatical error here. They just would get the wrong meaning from your sentence, and of course we don't want to do that. Our third and final rule with modifiers is to avoid dangling modifiers. This is where the modifying phrase is dangling because it actually doesn't have a word or word to hang on to. So let's take a look at this sentence. Having heard all the testimony, the defendant was found guilty. It kind of makes sense, but hopefully you're picking up that something is missing, and that something is the actor. The main clause in the sentence is in passive voice, and the actor, that actor who heard all the testimony, is not in the main clause. So having heard all the testimony, the jury, or it could be the judge, found the defendant guilty. So we need to have the actor there. That having heard all the testimony is the modifying phrase, and we need to know the actor that heard the testimony to begin the next part of the sentence. Another example of that mistake can be seen here. We don't know who is applying the test in New York Times versus Sullivan. It's probably a court though, right? And we have the main subject in this clause as punitive damages. So we need to fix that by adding the actor back in. So that modifying phrase is not dangling. So those are our 3 rules relating to modifiers today. I just want to remind you that everyone can be a great legal writer. You're taking the right steps to get there with watching these videos, and I hope to see you next time.